Hey everyone, this is the second episode of Direct to You, a podcast where we connect you with people from different industries around the world. In today's podcast, we have a special guest for you. His name is Ranadeep Moitra. He was a first-class Indian cricketer in the 90s. He was India's first strength and conditioning coach. He has coached the Indian cricket team. He's coached the very famous East Bengal team, and he's trained a number of athletes in India. Today, we will dive into the world of fitness and common myths in the fitness industry. So stay tuned and watch the entire episode to learn about what it takes to be an athlete in India. Sir, how much has the fitness industry in India changed since you started?
If you're asking about the fitness industry as in from a sports and conditioning viewpoint, an athletic viewpoint, the biggest change in the last 25 years has been that sport is no longer an in-season or a seasonal activity. So you have athletes competing almost 12 months in a year. If an athlete competes 12 months in a year, the role of the strength and conditioning coach in keeping him or her match ready and fit is hugely challenging. So we no longer have the luxury to design a program that is linear. Well, and because there's no off season, there's no preseason. So now the whole conditioning system is extremely undulating. And that's the biggest challenge that has evolved over the last 20 or 25 years, I would say.
So don't the athletes get frustrated when they have to be fit all year round? Like cricketers, for example. Do you think that cricketers are fit all year round?
This is what makes them extremely vulnerable to injuries. And that's where the physiotherapist, the corrective exercise coach, and the S&C coach comes in to ensure that you build in little undulating or gentle slopes in the conditioning standard of the athlete so that you don't kind of like topple him over the brink.
Okay. But in India, sir, do you think physiotherapy has been taken for granted? Like most of us Indians.
It's in very poor shape. I don't think in the Indian clinical industry even understands what proper physiotherapy is. So most of the physiotherapists that you see are typically comfortable in an environment of a hospital.
Yes.
Where they work with people who've probably recovered from a stroke or a surgery and a heart attack. Sports physiotherapy is completely different. So rehabilitating an athlete to jump 8 meters in the sky is not the same thing as helping your grandmother, for example, walk down or negotiate a step of stairs. And that is where Indian physiotherapy hasn't evolved.
When I started going to the gyms, I thought physiotherapy only meant for old people, like the ones like you just said for grandmas and grandfathers and all. But I also had to take physiotherapy because my ankle got twisted. And when I went to this physiotherapy clinic, it was a whole different game because I saw only young people and old people in that. So there was no in between of middle-aged guys over there getting fitter.
You don't even go to a physiotherapist after you twisted an ankle. If your trainer finds out that there's some dysfunction in your ankle and that you're prone to injury or that you're vulnerable to an injury, you need to see a physiotherapist before that to ensure that the injury doesn't take place. So the role of the therapist or the exercise coach is also preventive in a way.
Okay.
It's like putting a red flag on your ankle or your knee or your hip or wherever the case may be, and then ensuring that you don't get injured. And that's really the role of a corrective exercise coach.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen even your gym being called as a corrective exercise studio and not a gym. So that was something new for me to see that, okay, this is something I don't know. This is a new thing itself.
So let me put it in the right perspective. If you go to the bar or a fun hall where you've got a karaoke,
Yes.
and you can sing along, but nobody corrects the way you sing.
Yes.
That's a gym.
Yes.
But if you go to a center where they teach you how to sing, it could be classical music or rock music or jazz or whatever. That's where you learn music. You learn how to sing. The two places are completely different.
Completely different.
Right? So
Right.
called the first one is as a gym, and the second one is the corrective exercise. And the way you're actually going to learn how to sing. You need not be a professional singer, but you may just want to be a good singer. You just might want to sing well.
Right. You don't have to be a professional.
No, you don't.
Right.
Yeah, and it's not like going and just singing in a music hall
Okay, that's
with the
very specific.
karaoke, with the karaoke system on. Yeah.
Yeah, because I see in the gym people are just lifting weights just for the sake of it. Like मैंने देखा है जिम में ego lifting of people. लोग बस 100 किलो उठाने के लिए उठाते हैं, but they are not doing it correctly, right?
Yeah. When you say correctly, I mean, who decides what is correct? So without getting very technical about that, there is a biomechanically safe way to lift
Okay.
that is easiest on your joints, that is most efficient, and that also has a carryover effect into real life movements or sports movement. I mean, why are you lifting the weights? You're lifting it so that you get good at something else. You're doing a deadlift
Yeah.
so that, God forbid, if you have a flat tire in the middle of nowhere, you should be able to change the tire yourself. So that has a carryover benefit.
Okay.
That changing the car tire becomes so much easier if you've done a deadlift in the gym.
Okay, so the goal of a gym or a corrective exercise studio is to make sure the exercises that you do in the gym get carried on to the real life application.
Yeah, in my opinion, if an exercise doesn't have a carryover benefit into real life,
Yeah.
it could be sports, it could be just the outside world where you're taking on the hostile worlds, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
and trying to beat the odds.
Yeah.
So you need certain movement patterns that makes you efficient at beating the odds. It could be war, it could be fighting against a disease, it could be escaping from danger.
Okay.
God forbid this building catches fire, right? But if it does, you've got to learn how to escape.
Yes.
And you should have the physical skills to escape from that mess.
Right.
And you're in a better position to do that if you've gone to the gym and trained in movements that have functional benefit, or when we say benefits that carry over outside the realm of the gym.
Got it. So, what is a functional exercise?
I just said that. A functional exercise and an exercise that have benefits that help you to move better and negotiate an hostile environment better than if you hadn't done the exercise. So it'd be easier. It just doesn't have to be sport.
Okay.
It could be recreational. If you're doing a set of exercises that help you to move better on a tennis court, which could be a recreational activity
Right.
for you, then that exercises have some value, some meaning to you.
Right.
Right? If you're doing a set of exercise today, as in your 30s, that help you from falling down in the bathroom at the age of 75, then these exercises have functional value.
Got it. Got it. Wow. I'm just realizing all the time that I spent in the gyms and just doing meaningless like squats and these bicep curls, which I mean, do bicep curls have any function?
If you have to hang on to a tree for life
Yeah.
and on top of a river with a crocodile below you,
Yeah.
you need strong hands. No, jokes aside, there are many activities in life that you need strong hands. So I think every muscle part has a role to play. But those muscles that guide or help a compound movement have a greater functional role to play in movement than smaller muscle, like say, for example, a bicep.
Okay.
Right?
So do bigger biceps translate to higher strength?
There is a certain amount of muscle mass that you need in every muscle to be functionally effective. Now, if you have larger muscle than what is optimum, that may hinder rather than help.
Oh.
So for every activity or every sport that you participate, there is an optimum level of muscle useful for that sport. a quantum of muscle below that
Yeah.
may not be ideal, and a muscle above that may actually also hurt in sport rather than help.
Okay. All right. So, what is that one myth that you want to bust in the fitness industry? What is that one myth that you have seen in the fitness industry that you're like, okay, this is completely false?
So, what is the one myth that you think is completely false with your knowledge of fitness?
I think the amount of exercises that I've done, the gym trainers always used to tell me, okay, when you come to work out on your chest, you should do like three exercises: push-ups, bench press, and maybe another exercise with chest. So I don't know if it helps. If it does not help, I don't know.
It helps in a way that you need a certain amount of volume, of a certain volume of work on a muscle for the muscle to get bigger, what you call hypertrophy, and get stronger. If you're less than that volume, it may not produce the ideal result. So the ideal would be what I would say for any muscle part, about 12 to 13 sets.
12 to 13 sets.
So that means 3 exercises, 4 sets each means 12 sets.
Okay,
That
three
would be,
exercises, four
yeah,
sets.
that would be ideal. So anything more than that may not be useful. Anything less than that may not be ideal as well. So a certain amount of volume is required, but it all depends on the goals and objectives why you're training. But coming to the myth, I mean, I think the biggest myth is that you need to do a ton of cardio to stay lean. That's
Yes.
complete bull, I think.
Yes.
That's a lot of crap.
This one time I was told in the gym that you need to do cardio 3 times a week or 4 times a week. Every time, whenever I used to go to the gym, this trainer would be like, okay, now do cardio at the end of the training workout. So that is one myth that I had.
I think what we understand as cardio is very misunderstood. That you need to go on a mid to low intensity level of putting your heart under stress to gain the benefits of a stronger heart or low body fat. I think that's very misunderstood. There's only that much of aerobic exercise that you need. I think anything beyond that is counterproductive. And I'm a big one on anaerobic exercise. So you get breathless with anaerobic activity rather than aerobic activity.
Okay. So do you think treadmills are useful or useless?
You know, alas, if it was raining outside and you needed to run and there was no other way to do it,
Yeah.
you would need a treadmill.
Yeah.
Now, the treadmill is great for someone who's got good running technique, who doesn't have muscle dysfunction, has a certain amount of strength in his leg and glute muscles. It's safe. But the average person, and when I look around in a gym, for the general population, the treadmill is not advisable because A, they have very poor running technique. They have tight or weak muscles, which bear the brunt of the impact of the treadmill. And the rotating belt underneath ensures that if you're doing it on a repetitive basis,
Yeah.
it can lead to shortened muscles, which again produces greater risk to running on the treadmill.
Okay. So if a guy does not know how to run, he should stay away from the treadmill.
Everybody should learn the correct form and technique to run, because I've said this, that if there's one magic bullet to good health, it's running.
Okay.
While everybody can be taught to run well, not everybody around you is running well. They're running with very poor technique. They're running terribly, to be honest.
Okay.
When I am invited to many of these marathon events, which are really social events and done in very good faith, corporates are doing this in the name of health and wellness, but I think it's a complete abuse to your health, because people are running, or they think they're running, they're really ambling and dragging their feet over long distances, 10, 15, 20 kilometers, and it's a complete abuse.
Okay. So do you think we should do a marathon or a sprint?
Both are useful.
Okay.
Both are useful. The marathon is useful if you look at championship level marathon and you see the amount of anaerobic running that is involved, and you look at the techniques of top marathoners, it's perfect. So I don't think it's a matter sprinting or marathon. The basic running or gait pattern is very, very similar, except in sprinting, the explosive power, the rate at which your stride frequency, your stride length, they're different.
Okay.
Because running is really determined by two things, stride frequency and stride length.
Frequency and length.
Yes, but the basic gait pattern is similar across all forms of running, whether it's in 100 meters, 200, 400, 800, 1400, or even more than that. The basic running skeleton pattern is the same.
Okay. So there's one myth that I've seen, जैसे जिम के बंदे लोग बोलते हैं कि भाई भाग मत, मसल कम हो जाएंगे. So is that true? Like should you run and have the risk of losing your muscle mass?
You can show them a picture of Ben Johnson, you can show them a picture of Usain Bolt and some of the top 100 meters runners
Yes.
in the world. But yes, there is some truth that if you participate in too much of aerobic activity,
Yeah.
aerobic running,
Okay.
it produces cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and cortisol breaks down muscle tissue.
So what do you think about what should one average middle class guy eat in order to gain muscle in the gym?
Look, it's a no-brainer. You to gain muscle, you need to have protein.
Right.
And supported by adequate amount of complex carbohydrates, because if there's not enough carbohydrates, your protein's a waste because it's going to be used for energy.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's no other way. If you don't eat adequate protein, you cannot build muscle, period.
Okay. So right amount of carbohydrates and proteins and fats, everything is
Yeah, fats is a very important component of your diet. I would say it's going to be different for different people, but I would say about 25 to 30% of your diet should come from protein, and 25 to 30% of your diet should come from fats.
25 to 30%.
So that is about 40% carbohydrates,
Okay.
which should work with more people.
All right.
Yeah, with most people, beg your pardon.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about people with special needs.
Right.
If you have a project
Yeah.
which makes you want to look good naked,
Yeah.
the diet has to change. But that is not for optimum efficiency.
Okay.
That is completely cosmetic.
Okay. Completely cosmetic, like just open your shirt and walk at the beach. That's
Yeah, but that's not
that's
my
not
job.
optimal.
That's not my job. So I wouldn't like to comment on that.
But as an athlete, say if I'm a 29-year-old guy and I want to be physically fit, like an athlete is, so how much protein should I take?
It depends on your body weight, depends on your existing lean mass tissue.
Okay.
So and depends on how much. Yeah, the athlete would need up to 2 grams for every kg of body weight.
Okay. So if I'm a 70 kg guy, I would need about 140 grams of protein.
Yes, at least. And if you're lifting weights, if you're running, if you're again, it would vary. If you're a table tennis athlete,
Yeah.
or a badminton athlete, would perhaps
Yeah.
need a little less than if you were a discus thrower
Right.
or a shot putter. But that is not to say that the athlete who plays table tennis and badminton doesn't need protein. But the requirements may vary from the type of sport that you play, depending upon the amount of muscle mass that you need to carry. I mean, carrying too much muscle mass in badminton and table tennis could be counterproductive.
Having a good amount of muscle mass in discus adds to your
Yeah, the body weight, heavier body weight, which is muscle weight,
Got it.
lean muscle, which we call lean body weight.
Lean muscle. So do you think the Indian diet is too much carbohydrate? Like हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा carbohydrate खाते हैं as Indians.
You notice, Iliyas, when we were coming up the lift,
Yeah.
and there were 10 or 12 people in that lift,
Yeah.
and I couldn't help noticing that everybody had a paunch.
Yes.
It's like every Indian almost has a paunch. It's very rare to see somebody above the age of 30 or 35 who doesn't have a paunch. And that has to be our diet. There's far too much carbohydrates in the Indian diet. And the vegetarian diet is worse because Indian vegetarians are really having hardly any vegetables.
Okay.
So when they say vegetarians, they're having more and more carbohydrate meals and very little percentage of actual green vegetables.
Okay.
Right? So there's more starch going into the diet and more starch going into the diet, and that leads to more fat, particularly around the belly area, and that leads to increased lipid profile, and that leads to diabetes,
Right.
risk of cardiac arrest, blah, 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 blah.
Couple of Indian athletes are promoting that they are vegetarians and vegans now. Nowadays, they are saying that, oh, I'm a vegan. But do you think an average Indian middle class guy can keep up with the protein with his expenses being a vegetarian? Or should he like switch a little bit?
No, there are certain proteins that are indigenously available, which our cultures have forgotten. So in the rural areas, in the villages, people look at most of our villages. Most of our wrestlers come from Haryana
Yes.
and UP that are eating primarily vegetarian food, but their vegetable eating pattern is very different from the vegetarians who stay in the cities.
Okay.
So it's not about non-vegetarian or vegetarian. It's the fact that in cities people are eating too much of processed food.
Too much of
Processed food is what is causing body shapes like this,
got it.
and then a whole lot of lifestyle diseases.
Right. So just cutting off the processed foods and eating more vegetables can at least solve part of that problem.
So if you look at medical history, Ilyas, the number of acute diseases have come down. We have been able to eradicate acute diseases, smallpox, malaria, etc. But chronic diseases, diabetes, cardiac issues, liver issues, fatty liver, these are all chronic diseases. Arthritis has been on the rise in the last 50 years. And medical science hasn't really found an answer to these.
Okay. So do you think if a guy invests in going to a proper gym, a corrective exercise studio in his 20s and 30s and 40s can avoid those issues in his late 50s?
Absolutely, most certainly, because preventive medicine in our country is almost non-existent. And I think exercise is a big aspect of preventive medicine. When I'm talking about preventive medicine, I'm talking about diabetes, I'm talking about blood pressure, I'm talking about cardiac risk. So diet, lifestyle changes, and exercise, these are preventive in nature. 70% of the problem that we're facing in our society, health problems, can be eradicated with just improved diet, improved lifestyle, and exercises.
Wow. Okay.
And going to the gym is not a luxury,
Yeah.
as it's looked at, but it is a part of staying healthy. It should be actually looked at as part of preventive medicine.
Right. Right.
For prevention of metabolic diseases and for prevention of musculoskeletal diseases.
Okay. But sir, do you think that a lot of gyms that are opening nowadays don't have the adequate certifications? Like the gym trainers don't have certifications to actually train the guy?
Yeah, there's so many restaurants that are opening that don't serve quality food.
Right.
Right? And there are restaurants where you do get quality food. It's really the consumer's choice where he or she wants to go to. But you can't stop a restaurant from opening because they are not serving what you call quality food.
Right.
Right? It's not illegal.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So you can open a gym and you can pack it up with fancy equipment and can lure people to go with their fancy spas and their saunas and their ice and really top of the line equipment.
Yeah.
But you as a discerning and understanding consumer must know what is good for you. So that much of knowledge everybody should have,
Okay.
because it's your health, it's your wellness.
Right. So as an average gym goer, what should he look for in a gym? That, okay, this is a really nice, well, adequate, and a knowledgeable gym where I can go there and work out and I can get like proper knowledge about my own body.
Ilyas, first of all, you must be clear why you're going to the gym. To me, when somebody comes to the gym and tells me that, these are my objectives and goals,
Yeah.
and I said, that's interesting because I don't know what my objectives and goals are.
Okay.
So why do you go to the gym? And I said, I always say, and you've seen that in my gym, we have that, do you know why we train?
Right.
And it says, for life. So I always say this, that you go to the gym to prevent any unforeseen contingencies that life may throw at you tomorrow.
Okay.
Right? So if you're going to the gym to ensure a better future, and you should know what a better future is, a disease-free, accident-free. A lot of the incidents or events that people describe as accidents are actually creation of our own carelessness. You're playing football and you get hit from the back and you tear your ligament, you tear an ACL. For you, it's an accident.
Yeah.
For me, it could be just poor technique.
Yeah.
It could be poor alignment of your joints. It could be weak muscles. It could be tight muscles. And you choose to ignore these because everything is fine with you till that accident occurs.
Right.
But you're a sitting duck for the accident. You're a sitting duck for that accident and you haven't noticed because nobody's actually gone and put a red flag on your knees and said, Iliyas, watch out. So this is where a good trainer, this is where gyms, and that's the knee. But the knee may not kill you. Your heart can, your liver can. Right?
The other things can, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not only musculoskeletal illnesses, but metabolic illnesses that sort itself out when you go to the gym. And I've seen that from my own personal experience of life. I'm not saying that you should have a bad diet, but a good, tough exercise program can have the effect of correcting many other ills in your life. I'm not saying that you should have late nights. I'm not saying that you should eat poorly, but I know people who are not so careful with your diet or their lifestyle, but they train really hard. And I've seen that training hard, and I could be that example. Yeah. I've never actually said that my diet is great, right? Or my lifestyle is great, but I train hard, and that has been able to negate a lot of evils that would have taken place, but so far hasn't.
Right, with the right.
And I attribute it to just a very, very tough training program.
Right. So for an average gym goer who wants to get fit, wants to like reduce a little pouch belly, wants to add a little bit of muscles, are there any certifications that he should ask his gym trainer that आपके पास ये certification है?
Look, a certification doesn't guarantee that you're a good trainer. When you go to law, everybody's certified. Everybody's passed their law exam. But that doesn't ensure that you're a top-class lawyer or meets the requirements of what you need. Having said that, you wouldn't go to a lawyer first who's not passed his law exams.
True.
So having a certificate is not an added benefit. It's necessary. You shouldn't be allowed to practice. However, in our country, there are no rules that ask for a certification because the government is not even aware which are these certificates of quality, which are the certificates of credentials are actually worth it or looked at with respect in the fitness world. Okay. So then there'll be a good debate and everybody shout that, mine is the best. So unfortunately, we don't, in India, there are no colleges, or I think there are just a few that have come over the last maybe couple of years that actually teach you exercise science as a course, as a graduation degree.
Right.
So we are far behind. Our certifying standards are poor because we don't have institutions that teach us exercise science, that teach us clinical exercise science as well. It's clinical exercise science that prevents you from disease, whether musculoskeletal or metabolic.
Okay. Because I've seen a couple of my friends go to New Zealand to train and now they're fitness coaches. They've trained in New Zealand and they're going to the gym and they're certified coaches. So yeah, do you think India needs those universities?
So these coaches that you're talking about in New Zealand, they may be good coaches, they may be ordinary coaches, they may be poor coaches, they may be excellent coaches, but all of them are certified, maybe from the same body.
Okay.
Where you expect that somebody who's been, say, passes out from Harvard or Yale is probably a better candidate than somebody who passes out from other universities, but may not be. You'll have some top-class students coming from lesser-known universities who are equally good. But a good university carries a lot of weight. So when you certify from an institute of respect, of credential, the possibility is that you're a more complete you're a better professional.
Got it.
You're a better informed, a more well-rounded professional.
Okay. Just for the audience, do you think an average gym goer should like look for any of these certifications or anything like that and ask his gym trainer? Just on top of your mind, do you have anything?
The mentality in India
Yeah.
is if the trainer can come home, preferably in my bedroom, and teach me, it'll be fantastic. Now somebody with high credentials is not coming to go to your bedroom to train you.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a domestic trainer,
Yeah.
you're going to get what you're looking for. So most people are just happy
Yeah.
to get a domestic trainer coming home and training them. Even probably waking them up from sleep, like brushing their teeth, washing their face, and said, "Hey, let's have 10 burpees, man."
Yeah.
Right on the carpet next to your bed. Super. That's what most people expect.
True.
এটাই তো প্রবলেম না সস্তা হলে আরো ভালো
Right. Like we look for like
Yeah.
per training session, we look for like,
Yeah, we are looking for bargains everywhere. But will you go to a hospital and ask for a bargain?
right.
People will spend that much on a bag and expensive bag and expensive, but not on their own training.
Not on their own trainers, right? To have a quality trainer is actually an investment. Yeah.
You're investing. Actually, you're saving money.
Yeah.
You're saving money.
Yeah.
Because it's not a question of whether you will get an ACA. You will. You've seen it in your own life.
Yeah.
Those who are, and then, oh my God, look at him. I've seen in my experience, but this is going to happen. Why didn't you get, ये पहले क्यों नहीं किया? पर मुझे मालूम नहीं था. The ignorance of.
Yeah. बंगाल में इतना टैलेंट है, इतना क्रिकेट का, फुटबॉल का इतना टैलेंट,
यही तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ.
बट कोई सिस्टम नहीं है.
सिस्टम मान जाओ तुम, पॉलिटिक्स. मोस्ट पीपल आर कंसर्न अबाउट इलेक्शन में कौन होगा, सिंजॉय बॉस जीतेगा कि टूटू बॉस जीतेगा, यही चल रहा है सारा.
ओके. इवन इन क्रिकेट इज
फुटबॉल सब सेम. क्रिकेटर निकल रहा है अपने टैलेंट पे ही निकल रहा है.
गॉट इट. या दैट्स समथिंग टू थिंक अबाउट. इंडिया में अगर टैलेंट कोई देखता है तो उसको फ्यूचर नहीं करता.
क्रिकेट वी हैव बिल्ड एन एकेडमी इन कल्याणी, राइट? पड़े আছে वेस्ट. The boy should not be in Calcutta. They should be there sitting. कलकत्ता में रहेगा, पार्टी करेगा, रात को कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है. सुभाष में जब when I was in East Bengal ना, सुभाष में should take them in শান্তিনিকেতন, keep them there. সালা कहाँ पार्टी करेगा শান্তিনিকেতন? আর পুজোর সময় ওদের এখানে যাবে, একটা পূজা ইনগ্রেট করবে, টাকা নেবে, no partying, stay in শান্তিনিকেতন. See, you have to make a lot of sacrifices if you want to become an athlete.
Right.
I've seen that, and it's true. Ronaldo's son wanted a phone.
Yeah.
He didn't buy. He put him on. He took him to that shanty where he grew up. He said, I grew up here. I'm not going to buy you a phone.
Just because you're my son, I will give you that luxury.
That is the only way you'll make athletes.
Right. So becoming an athlete has like a lot of sacrifices you require, a lot of discipline you require.
Of course, it's a tough life.
Resting is a big problem.
Tough life. You have to schedule your life like that.
Right. And I see some of my friends, they come from good backgrounds, like proper financially well-off backgrounds. They don't put in the sacrifice, they don't put in the discipline to become an athlete. Although they had a lot of talent, they never put in, like never used to go to bed early, they used to party and then through their life.
And then the other thing happens that if you've seen money, all right. If you haven't seen money, and then suddenly you sign a contract and made 5 crores, your mind goes.
So you should, like, if you are an athlete and if you got your first contract, you should just let the money stay and like not do anything about it.
See, that discipline you need. Like I've seen some golfers, but they're from the army. Their parents are army officers. So dad travels with the boy. Then Shubhankar is one of India's leading golfers. Dad keeps a tight rein. See, what happens is, once you start making in the world of sport, agent will send you everything to your hotel room, including what, to get you to sign that contract with them.
Oh.
There are a lot of distractions. IPL में क्या होता है रात को party वार्टी?
So IPL में when players go out to drink and have a good night, Is that allowed by
See, IPL is not serious cricket. It's fun cricket. It's franchise cricket.
Okay.
See, BCCI is not bothered about what you do in IPL.
Okay.
Nobody's bothered. IPL ka is just to entertain people.
Okay.
That is their off day, holiday samjho.
So that's their holiday, but nobody like takes it seriously. I thought it was.
We are not bothered what people do. Like we don't push them also. Like,
Right.
take it.
But what does a young cricket guy want to do? Like अगर मैं एक young cricketer हूँ, 18 साल का लड़का हूँ, तो मुझे मेरे एस्पिरेशन में क्या होना चाहिए?
वही तो प्रॉब्लम हो गया पंजाब जो कोच उसका टीम में ना 12 लड़का आईपीएल खेल रहे हैं। हम लोग के साथ रणजी ट्रॉफी कोई खेलना ही नहीं चाहता है। हम लोग के साथ 2 इनिंग्स रिपीट हो गया। वो लोग सफेद कपड़ा क्या 2-4 दिन कौन खेलेगा भाई? आधा दिन खेलेगा पैसा बना के। एवरीबॉडी वांट्स टू प्ले आईपीएल, मोर फेम, नोबडी वांट्स टू गो द हार्ड वे। दैट्स व्हाई वी आर नॉट गेटिंग रहानेस, द पुजारास, द राहुल द्रविड्स। नोबडी वांट्स टू वर्क हार्ड।
So that will come via Ranji Trophy.
Tell me something. तो 90-minute फुटबॉल खेल भी ना 30-minute फुटबॉल खेल भी at 5 times the price.
I'll play 30.
30 minutes खेलेगा, इंजर कम होगा, लोड कम होगा.
Right.
Who wants to play? If you get 10 times more money for playing 30 minutes than for 90 minutes, why will you play 90 minutes football?
True. Why will I put myself?
Tell me something. तुम बड़ो माटे खेलते थे कि छोटे माटे खेलते थे? छोटे माटे खाटनी कम.
Right.
बस.
Okay. Right.
मैदान भी तो छोटा कर दिया आईपीएल में. चक्का देखेगा लोग.
आईपीएल का ग्राउंड छोटा कर दिया.
भाई बॉलर 4 ओवर बॉल डालता है. एक रणजी ट्रॉफी मैच में टॉप बॉलर 20 ओवर बॉल डालना पड़ता है उसका. एक इनिंग्स में 2 इनिंग्स हो सकता है.
Sir, what is the difference between Ranji cricket and first class cricket?
Okay. Anything which is not test is first class.
Okay. Anything.
So if today you're playing a match, say in Indian team will go and play. They'll play with Middlesex, for example, first class.
Oh, that's first class.
First class.
Okay.
Anything above state is first class.
Got it. Above state, first class. Okay, so Ranji and Dulip Trophy and all.
They're all first class.
First class. Okay. So
even international first class, not test. What do you play before first class?
Before first class.
Like if you play East Zone versus New Zealand, first class.
That's first class.
First class.
Ah, okay. So number of first class matches you'll have as an international cricketer will be more than the international cricket ODI matches.
Yeah, maybe not. अगर तुम बहुत जल्दी इंडियन टीम में घुस गए उतना फर्स्ट क्लास क्रिकेट खेलने का चांस नहीं मिला.
So do you think that the new Indian cricket talent is not coming because of IPL, because of this problem that is going on?
Yeah, we're not producing enough test cricketers of quality.
We're not producing any
good test cricketers. Enough test cricketers of quality. Now one Sai Srinivasan, Sai Sudarshan comes up, who's exceptional, and he looks like a good test player. Potentially looks like good test player, even when you see him bad at T20, because he plays, he's with like that, like Rachindra Ravindran. You can see there'll be good test players also because the way they bat.
Ah, okay.
Like one question you put, now what makes you the way they scored the runs. You can see Kate Williamson, exceptional test match player, even by watching them bat at white ball. But some people have that.
Some people have that.
Some people don't. Like you have a tennis, but you have a tennis player who's equally good on grass, on artificial surface, on clay.
Right.
It's difficult. So you had Nadal dominate clay. He had 22 titles on a French Open. He'll win Wimbledon. He's also won, I don't know, Nadal must have won 3 Wimbledons.
Yeah.
Few Opens, but it's not going to be the same. Some people dominate certain.
So, sir, you have coached the Indian cricket team. You have coached East Bengal. You have coached a lot of teams. So, in India, who was when you were training the Indian cricket team, who was the most disciplined player?
I think Rahul Dravid stood out.
Rahul Dravid.
As having said that, there are some of the other guys as well. I mean, I have to say Gautam Gambhir was very focused and disciplined. He was young at that time. He hadn't made it to the Indian team yet. He was in the Indian A, but he was extremely focused, disciplined, and knew his mind very well. Yeah, but Rahul Dravid stood out.
Rahul Dravid. Yeah, he's more relaxed, calm. We look at him like that.
In the present generation of, I don't work with the Indian team anymore, but having seen Abhimanyu Ishwaran, He's also extremely disciplined with his own training regimen, practice regimen, his fitness regimen. He just stands out.
In the new crop of
Yes.
Indian.
Ishwaran is the captain of the India A team.
Oh, okay. And one more question I'll ask you: who was the fittest in the Indian cricket team when you were training them?
Well, there were a handful of cricketers who were extremely fit. I can't name one, but the names that come to mind, Kaif was one of them, Hemang Badani, Balaji was fit.
Balaji.
As a wicketkeeper, Ajay Ratra was brilliant. He's really fit. And yeah, these are the names. Avishkar Salvi was really strong as a quick bowler. Yeah, very committed fitness regime.
Do you think Indian cricket players lift properly? The weightlifting regime that they do it properly?
I mean, by and large, everybody's committed to strength training now. It's part of every athlete's program, almost international athlete, not only cricket, but strength training is a very vital part of your fitness training regime, and it should be.
Right. And as cricketers, if it's a left-handed or right-handed batsman particularly, what is that one exercise they have to like do to make it even more better?
No, let's put it this way. I mean, there's no training that is cricket specific.
There's no training.
There is no training that is sports specific. So when athletes go into gym, we're trying to do is to make them better athletes, better control of their joints, more strength, more mobility, more proprioceptive skills, the ability to generate power, the ability to absorb power, absorb impacts. That's all we are trying to teach the athletes. So quick off the blocks, better agility, more control, better balance. And we're hoping that makes them better athletes, that makes them more efficient on the field. But let me repeat again, there is no specific drill that is only pertains to this sport or that sport. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So as young cricketers, when you used to like teach or like train young cricketers, was Saurav Ganguly also one of them?
Saurav, there's only three and a half years difference between Saurav and me. So I when he was young, I'm actually of the same age as his elder brother Snehashish.
Okay.
So I know Saurav as a youngster who used to tag along with his elder brother, and he showed remarkable and exceptional talent right from day one.
Right.
Yeah, he
Ganguly was exceptional.
He had some special spark.
When did you think Saurav Ganguly was like he was the right fit for the captain? Do you think that Saurav Ganguly was the guy to lead the Indian cricket team, which he has led for over the years? But when did you think that okay, he's getting that captainship or something like that?
I never thought of him as whether fit or not. But when he took over the captaincy, he took it to exceptional levels.
Right.
And that's more important.
True.
He was perhaps Indian cricket's best modern captain.
Right. Till now.
I think so, yeah. Most modern captain. Yeah.
Okay.
Most successful, I think, is the stats speak for itself. But in terms of how he marshaled his resources, in terms of how he read the game, how he recognized talent, he just stood out in that way.
So, sir, you're a selector in the Cricket Association of Bengal, CFB. What made you take this role as a selector?
Well, as an ex-first class cricketer of Bengal, and as you're aware, because of health reasons, I couldn't continue cricket beyond my young years. So there was always this unfulfilled desire to give back something to Bengal cricket, which wasn't possible as a cricketer. So I tried to give it back as a strength and conditioning coach. But I think at my age, my days as a sports strength and conditioning coach are behind me. But I think one area where I can contribute, I discussed it with the present president, Snehashish Ganguly, and he suggested that this would probably be the best way for me to contribute as a selector.
Right. And you were a first-class cricket player also earlier. How were those days of being a first-class Indian cricketer?
So my days as a cricketer was very short-lived because I had just made my debut, and then I was the same year I was diagnosed with this illness, and I was out for 2 years, and then I came back and tried to make a return, but my health didn't allow. So finally, I had to call it off. But this, even though I say it myself, it's I would give myself credit that for somebody who suffer from a degenerative physical disability, for me to become a strength and conditioning coach speaks volumes for my resilience, for my determination.
True.
But even though I say this myself, so when I always say when God shuts one door, he opens another one. It's just that you got to keep looking at the door and trying to find. So I couldn't really contribute as a cricketer, and so now I've been given a second innings to be part of the Bengal establishment, and I hope I can do things which help to change positively.
Right.
The
And you were also the first strength and conditioning coach, a certified strength and conditioning coach in India.
yeah.
So that was a big deal. I'm sure that must have been a big.
Yeah, those days it was tough to become certified. As an SNC coach, I went and the degree I had applied for was a certified strength and conditioning specialist from the National Strength and Conditioning Association of America, which is the number one actually credential of distinction in the world in our line.
Okay.
And you couldn't even give the exam in India. You had to travel abroad and give it. And it was tough because I really had no path to follow. There was nobody actually ahead of to show me the way. I just found it, and
Right. And you made the whole way for yourself and for others also.
I like to think that I've created a track,
Pathway, yeah.
pathway. Right? Yeah.
That's nice. And now when you're a selector, sir, do you think how early should a child, like a young child, start training, start sports training? How early can that be?
I think as soon as he can follow physical instructions. But having said that, I am not in favor of too much structured training in a young athlete's life. I think he should just be allowed to play freely, express him or herself in the best way possible. Not too much coaching, but just give them the infrastructure,
Right.
allow them the freedom to grow, and give them that physical space.
Right. To grow and like.
And
just
each one
be.
will find their own way to express
Right.
themselves.
Right. Because a lot of Indian parents, they want their kids to like follow a structured way of doing things, not like just let them be. या फिर अगर आप देखोगे क्रिकेट खेल रहा है कोई तो माँ बाप ही बोलेंगे कि अरे यार जब भी जिम जाओ ये करो वो करो.
देखो, अगर पेरेंट्स को ज़्यादा पुश करना पड़ रहा है और आप रियलाइज कर रहे हो कि ये बहुत ज़्यादा सैक्रिफाइस करना पड़ रहा है, देन इट्स नॉट वर्थ इट. द चाइल्ड मस्ट फील दैट दिस इज व्हाट आई वांट टू डू. आई वांट टू मेक दिस सैक्रिफाइस.
I want to make.
Yeah, I want to make it because I want to get there. That's important.
Okay.
I don't think the parents can push too much.
Right. So I have
Yeah, the parents should just give them the opportunity, give them the exposure, then step back and let somebody with technical expertise like a coach take over.
Okay. So, for example, if I have my 5-year-old nephew who wants to become who wants to become a potential cricketer, okay, what do you look into a child and say, okay, he's got it.
Firstly look for signs of a good athlete.
Yeah.
Somebody you can really move well, and you'll see it because you've been an athlete yourself. The way they run, the way they throw a ball, the way they hit a ball, you recognize that spark.
Okay.
And then expose them to an environment where they can enjoy themselves. Right, not too much structured coaching.
Right. The enjoying is important.
Yeah, the enjoyment is very important. If it's a bowler, let them bowl.
Yeah.
And they learn the technique. Let them learn by watching.
Learn by watching.
Audio visual watching rather than by by being taught, because children imitate extremely well. If they see good technique,
Yeah.
they'll pick it up without realizing what's good for them.
Yes.
And they'll form their own style, which is important. Let them form their own style.
In terms of like cricketers versus footballers, okay, you've taught cricketers and you've taught football players. Who's more tougher to train?
Football requires far more physical skills, both more strength, more power,
Yeah.
more speed. But in India, by and large, I find that cricketers are a little more good boys.
More good
Footballers are better. Football bit of rogues.
boys.
Yeah. So they're more rough. Typically, yeah, they're more rough. They're more rough and tough, and but once you get their respect, their attention, and they realize that you're an honest worker, you're a sincere worker, and you're working for their benefit. I've never had problem getting their cooperation. And I used to train the East Bengal football team, and East Bengal is really, in Calcutta at least, the cat's whiskers. There are a number of footballers there who were playing for the national side. And I had a really good experience there. I never had a problem with any. I didn't really get too many difficult words, though some of them were troublemakers.
Who was your favorite football player in East Bengal when you were training?
Baichung, and there was a centre back, I think, Devobrat Roy. He was, and the ideal guy. He was to train and hard worker. He played for India as well, and he was one of my favorite footballers.
Baichung Bhutia and Devobrat Roy.
Yeah,
Very good football players.
you remember Devobrat Roy?
Yeah.
Yeah, centre back.
I think he played midfield, centre back.
Centre back, yeah. Lovely boy as well, yeah. I think he settled down in Goa.
Yeah.
And
A lot of football players are settling down in Goa and all these places. Do you think Indian football scene needs a revamp?
I've been really out of touch with football. I haven't gone back. Haven't been with football for almost 15 years now. After I left IFS, so I'm quite out of seeing what's happening. But I hear good things now. That there has been a revival of, and I may get. In fact, I talks with the secretary of IFA, so I may get involved in the grassroots level of IFA academies again.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think at least the West Bengal football needs more grassroots training, like the infrastructure which is needed, like stadiums and those stadiums for like young guys, stadiums for like division football players, stadiums or like infrastructure, basic infrastructure for the young guys that are coming in, because Bengal seems to lack that part of having basic infrastructure for football, even though Bengal is the powerhouse for the football team.
Be it business, be it commerce, be it sports, Bengal is falling behind the rest of the country. And if we don't wake up, if the football bosses don't wake up and create infrastructure, right now football will die out in Bengal. We've lost our premier position. We don't have enough infrastructure. If you compare with the rest of the country, we go out even to a place like Orissa, right? Which and you compare the sports facilities there,
Right.
Bengal's, it's far behind.
Right.
So if we want to hold on to our past glory of being one of the top football states, we need to invest in infrastructure.
Right.
Stadiums, academies,
Right.
schools,
Coaches.
tournaments, coaches.
Right. All right. And so this is the last question that I'll ask you. This is the last question, I swear. What is your favorite exercise, and what is the one exercise that you hate, but you still have to do it?
I hate doing the one-leg deadlift.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the most troublesome.
One-leg deadlift.
One-leg deadlift I hate doing, with a kettlebell.
Okay.
But you have to do it because it's one of the most useful exercise that you can do. And my favorite exercise has to be squats.
Squats.
Yeah.
Squats.
Because squats is not an exercise.
I love squats.
It's a way of life.
Yeah, squats is a way of life.
Because squats is a way of life.
I saw in your gym also you have like primal patterns.
Yeah, you,
That is
you,
amazing.
you just shut up and squat.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much, sir, for being in the podcast. It was really fun having you. It was really nice listening from your experiences and learning about all the different kinds of, uh, be it strength and conditioning, the things that we need in real life, be it your experiences that you've taught others. So thank you for bringing that into the podcast, and hopefully we'll have you soon over here.